Are you pumped to catch the latest in sports? What's something people don't know about Mike and Darren's podcast? Stick around to find out. This week on the Around the Ballpark podcast, we're covering everything from home runs to touchdowns. Baseball's heating up with some jaw-dropping plays. Who knew the outfield could be this exciting, right? And in football news, our favorite teams are making headlines. We've got game-changing plays, underdog victories, and more drama than a soap opera. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. Mike's got the stats, Darren's got the jokes, and together they've got the scoop on all things sports. It's like hanging out with your best buds, but with a whole lot more trivia. So if you're looking for the ultimate sports rundown, hit that subscribe button. And as always, until next time, we'll see you around the ballpark.
There we go.
I like that.
that was
really cool.
I
really liked it very much.
That was interesting.
That was really cool. I like that.
That was fun. I had to mess around with it a few times, but
that was great, man.
That was cool. Yeah.
And speaking of great, I love the logo. Just saying.
Thank you. So as soon as I receive, I think it's on the 3rd, I'll be getting a shirt and the coffee mug. So as long as it looks good, I'm going to send you one.
Please do.
Just want to make sure it's like a good one first.
What? I don't get one?
Well, you can have one too.
Thanks.
Or you can just watch him wear his. It's like,
Yeah.
I'll just
We'll rotate it in the flow. But thank you everybody I saw 4 people jump on. So thank you everybody for joining us for the Around the Ballpark podcast. This is the last live of 2024. We'll be live again next week though, so it's okay. We're not going anywhere. But for 2024, this is the last time that we're going live. And tonight is going to be exciting because we have not 1, but 7 guests that'll be popping in throughout the night. And so super excited to talk with all of them, a little bit of everything around all different sorts of guests that we've had on before, one even that we have not had on yet. So super excited for this. So before anything, I want to introduce the panel here. I am your host, Mike Redmond, alongside my brother, my co-host, Darren Redmond, and my wife, Eileen, ! And we are live. We are going to have some fun. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. But as always, before we do, Darren, if you wouldn't mind sharing a word from our sponsor.
well, attention, Palm Bay, and really everybody else. If you got tax troubles, Nashville Tax Solutions has got you covered. Whether you're behind on returns, you're facing a lien, you just need expert advice. Their team is ready to help. Hear what some of the clients say. Chris Bennett and his team has saved me from financial nightmares. They're knowledgeable, they're clear, and they're compassionate. So don't let taxes stress you out. Reach out to Nashville Tax Solutions today. Call 615-502-2250 and visit NashvilleTaxSolutions.com or email info@NashvilleTaxSolutions.com. Nashville Tax Solutions, where tax resolution is achieved.
Thank you, Darren. And as always, shout out to Chris. I know spoke with him earlier today. He is on the way home from the beatdown that was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers victory over my Carolina Panthers. It was rough to watch. The defense just did not show up today for the Panthers, as is the case for most of the early this season. They did look a lot better recently, but today things got out of control pretty quickly. But as you see at the ticker there, 48-14 was the final score. Not much exciting action if you're a Carolina Panthers fan. If you're a Bucs fan, all the momentum needed to go into that final week of the season next week against the New Orleans Saints. So that'll be an exciting thing. Everything now, all eyes point to that game that's just about to start in just over an hour. The Washington Commanders and Atlanta Falcons play tonight. Regardless of the outcome of that game, it's still going to come down to next week in terms of who gets that NFC South title. But a loss for the Falcons tonight goes a long way for Tampa Bay, makes their road that much easier. And so, Eileen, we were watching the game together. It was a lot better for you than it was for me. A house divided. But what did you like about today? What did you like today? Did you like everything? Probably, right?
Well, I liked it. It was like touchdown after, like every 2 minutes, I looked at the screen. Touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Just a lot of really good playing on everybody's part. I love that. I was telling you this earlier about the different quarterbacks that, a lot of Bucs fans have, us diehard fans, we've been suffering through the past decade, I feel. And it just felt like none of the quarterbacks ever felt right. You know what I mean? Like it never just felt like it was gelling or like in a niche, And even with Tom Brady, took us to the Super Bowl. That was awesome. But it just didn't have that like feeling, But I feel like Baker Mayfield is 100% right. He's perfect for the team. He is, he just fits right in. He just really fits right in. And I love so many of his sayings. Like I watch a lot of the behind the scenes stuff or like the after the press conferences and everything. And so one of the terms that a lot of people around the church and around the neighborhood hear me saying, well, that'll sizzle your bacon. Baker Mayfield likes to say that a lot. That'll sizzle your bacon while he's screaming on the sidelines. And then today we had the glorious presence of a duck to make the game ducking awesome. I just wanted to say that live so bad. So yeah, it was a good game. I loved it. It was just so. I wish we could play like that every Sunday. I really do. It was a really good game.
Yeah, and this of course was the second time they met. First time was not so brutal as this one, but the theme it seemed to be this weekend between yesterday and today was blowouts. Not a lot of competitive games, which is unusual. And so, hello, baseball road tripper is with us, Tony Voda. We'll see you in a little bit. He'll be
Hey, my friend, how are you now?
Shortly. So a lot of blowouts today. There was one in particular. So we discussed the Buccaneers and Panthers. The Bills-Jets game, sorry to bring that up, but it was 9-0, and then everything went. Darren, I'm sure you were watching along. So what happened? What had happened? What had happened?
What had happened was.
Go ahead, Eileen, please.
Well, what happened was they forgot to show up. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
See, let me tell you a dirty little secret that you probably all know, and I will never seriously give the name of the professional athlete who told me this, who played professional football. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want to get hurt. So what happens in the case of what I saw with the Panthers today was, and I forget if it's 4 years or 5 years, if you're in that window, of course you want to play hard. But you also don't want to get hurt. And here's the dirty little secret. If you're running, that's when you can get a retirement package for life. So you don't want to blow out a knee year 2, year 3, and then fall a little short and not make the team next year. You heard the saying, I made an executive decision, and that a business decision, and that's what happens. These guys stop playing. And you saw that happen in college football without going on tangents, right? You had players, not even showing up to play for Miami.
I wasn't even aware of that, but no, share that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's what happens today. That's what happened with the Jets. That's what happened with the Panthers. Some people are just making executive decisions.
Yep, and speaking of not showing up, we do have Harry is here with us.
Theoretically, his name is here. I just see a big dark screen.
Yes. So Harry, we cannot hear you or see you, but we see your name. So you're a third of the way there. So send me a message if anything, but hopefully you can figure out what's going on. I know the last time or the time we had you on, it was a recording, not a live, so it might be a little bit different. So just keep trying. We'll be here having all the fun in the meantime. So not going anywhere.
If Harry is listening, I found this really awesome picture of Aiden and Noah. They had Nerf guns that were bigger than their bodies. They had them like hiked up like that on their shoulders, looking like they were all thug. I posted on Facebook the other day. I was like, oh, they were so cute. Now, at the time, they didn't want to assume. They didn't want to be cute. See, words are hard. But they wanted to look like manly and thug, but they were cute and I loved it and I miss it.
Yes. So I was just getting in touch with Harry. So, Tony had posted in the chat, Baker Mayfield, poor Browns. Baker is a grinder and also somehow flashy, hard-nosed with swag.
With
so-
swag. I
With
love
swag.
his swag. You don't
That's a
even
great
know,
way to-
man. He's so good.
Yeah,
Yep. I'm
great
a
way
big
to say
fan.
that.
I'm a big
and,
fan of his.
Yeah,
He got caught up in that Manziel nonsense, unfortunately, and he's just a good man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
By
think
the
it matters too, not about sometimes like the Mets when they released Darno and then he came down to the Rays and he played for the Rays. All of a sudden he perked up, you know? And then there was another trade where someone else came from there and they came to the Rays. And I don't remember exactly which team it was, but when they got to the Rays, they perked up, you know? And so I think, hey, Harry, I think sometimes you may be a great player, but just with the wrong team. And so you got to kind of move around a little bit. Unfortunately, nobody wants to do that. They want to stay with the team and make a career. But when you find your groove, then all of a sudden you perk up and everything. And so I think that's what's happening with Baker Mayfield. He's perking up because he's in the right environment now. Hi, Harry.
Hi there.
You got it. Could you hear us that whole time? Or
I could hear you
Okay.
and see you.
okay. Well, that's
I
cool.
heard the little bit about Noah and Aiden, so
Oh
was
my
cute.
gosh, it was so cute. I have to send you the picture, or I'll
All
send
right.
it to Mike because he has your phone number. But yeah, it was
Okay.
so adorable. You could see how they're trying to be all manly and thuggish, but
right?
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you, Harry, for joining us. And
My
I see
pleasure.
7 of you online. So if you are here, go ahead and comment in the chat. We're gonna, in just a few minutes, we're gonna kind of go over some year-end awards. We don't have nominations. It's gonna be an open-end discussion. Gonna bring up a topic, and we'll just kind of go around the horn, so to speak, and see what your thought is on who you'd select for that. But as mentioned earlier, tonight, Harry is our second of 7 guests to come on tonight. So Harry, you're welcome to stay as long as you can. You don't have to leave when the next person comes on. If you have to go, no worries. But we're going to just have fun tonight and talk a little bit about everything. As if you could believe it, this is episode number 58 of the podcast. So that is awesome. I believe 84 total videos and online and stuff. And so the next goal, now that we've met 1,500, of course, is going to be, I'm going to set the 1,750 goal for the end of February. So I'd like to give just over 2 months to get halfway to 2,000 from where we are now. So I'll keep you guys posted with that. So just talk a little bit more football before we dive into some year-end stuff here. And, you know, as you see at the bottom there, the ticker's going through. One game that really surprised me more than anything, the Giants 45-33 over the Colts. I know a lot of angry Giant fans out there upset that they lost the first round pick potentially. I completely disagree. I think you show up to play. You don't cheer for your team. You don't root for your team to lose. I think that's ridiculous. I get it, but not something I would do. But the Giants showed up today. I don't think it's going to save anybody's job or anything like that, but it was good to see. Fortunately for the Colts, that was one of many things they needed to have happen, was to beat the Giants today. Unfortunately, that didn't go their way. So are they officially eliminated now, the Colts? Anybody know? I don't know.
I think if they're not, they should be.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And
Make it happen.
And again, take this from somebody who spoke to a lot of professional athletes like yourself. Played college football, coached college D1, and D3. And listen, I understand when the fan wants their team to tank. There are organizations that want their team to tank. But when you're on the team, it's not even a pride thing. It's, hey, that pick could be me. That pick could be the one who takes my job.
Right.
You gotta play your butt off every play, every down.
Yeah.
You know, and wait a minute, Dan, you were just talking earlier about people who make a business decision and stop. Well, they're two different things. For example, if I'm a quarterback and I know that they may draft high a quarterback, I'm playing as hard as I can. And that's what you have. And you have to coach that way too. So the GM might be like, hey, you know, hope they tank, you know, put in the third string punter as quarterback. But the truth is, this is your job. This is your livelihood. It can go.
Sounds like something the Rays would do. Hey, you're selling hot dogs. Do you want to come pitch?
Did you hear what? I forget which team they ended up losing. in college football at the one of the bowl games this weekend. They put the punter in, or what looked like the punter, but he wasn't. He wore the punter's uniform, but it was a third string quarterback for the team, and he threw a touchdown pass.
Is that for real?
Yeah, that really happened.
That's awesome.
Wow, that is awesome. And we have another final. The Dolphins have defeated the Browns 20-3. Doesn't mean much. Doesn't mean they're in the playoffs. There's still a lot that has to happen, but that's one thing that they had to do. That the Minnesota Vikings Green Bay Packers games coming down to the wire there. It's 2-point
Yep,
games.
it's going final right now.
Oh, it is. Okay. Is it official then? Or
Now it's official. Yep.
okay. So the best 13-win team you've never heard of, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
Right.
Look out for
Nobody's
those
talking
Packers,
about the
though. They
Vikings.
play tough.
Yeah, Packers play tough. Yep, for sure.
What'd you
So,
say there, Harry?
I said nobody's talking about the Vikings.
I know, it's so weird. I looked at their standings on the TV. I was like, what? Wait, what? Where'd they come
Yeah.
from? Yeah.
What's it called? So just a lot of good football today. Darren disappeared. So that's okay. So, but you're doing good, Harry. Everything's good.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Darren a Packers fan.
No, he's a Jets fan. So
Okay.
he had a rough season as well. I think they said
Right.
14 consecutive seasons without making the playoffs. So that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. But
Right.
and then I think it was 10 consecutive 10 loss seasons or something like that. So it's been rough. So once Darren returns, we'll kind of dive into some year-end stuff. But how was your Christmas, Harry? Everything good on your end? And
Yeah, everything was great. All my Florida kids were at my house, and we had a great time. So
awesome.
excellent Christmas.
How tall is Noah now? Like,
Whew, he's like 6'3", almost 6'4".
wow.
Him and
Yes.
Aiden are probably. Remember how much taller Noah used to be than Aiden?
Right.
But
Aiden's up
now-
there. Yeah, how tall is Aiden?
6'1", but depending on what shoes he's wearing, he might be
Right.
6'2" when he's wearing his boots. I
Right.
don't think he needs.
It's crazy whenever you have to look up to them, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh, I still put him in his place real quick though.
That's funny. Oh, he's got his Astros jersey on now. Okay.
Oh,
He's gonna change
it'll
each
be
guest.
like the
Each guest is
chip
gonna-
change every quarter. He's gonna every quarter change his jersey.
chip
Nice.
change. Yep. So let's dive into some good stuff here, and we should have our next guest joining us shortly. But until then, I want to go around the horn. So the first question I have for everybody is, in your opinion, in Major League Baseball, who is the MVP of 2024 not named Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge? Not named Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge. So can be a pitcher, can be a player, of course, but just interested to see because we saw what Judge did not do in the postseason. Ohtani didn't do much in the World Series, but if you had to choose a name outside those two, if you were giving an award, the ATB award, I guess we'd call it. So Harry, starting with you, MLB MVP not named Ohtani or Judge.
Ohtani.
Not named.
Who else could it be? I don't know.
Yeah,
You
it
know
is
who
tough.
I think? He was a pitcher. I believe he was a pitcher for Pittsburgh. He was a rookie, and what?
Paul Skeens, but
Yes, Skeens.
he won the All-Star, but he's not an MVP because the Pirates didn't do anything. I mean,
True.
yeah.
I mean, but I think like I don't know, just my opinion. Like out of the whole season, the Rays were just a giant disappointment the whole season. Not the actual team, just the management of the team. But also Zach Eflin, I think he did a lot of good stuff, and I think it was underrated because a lot of the management made really poor decisions that kind of took the spotlight off the players. But that's just me. What do you think, Darren?
I think Francisco Lindor, and that's not me just being a Met fan. They go nowhere without him. He
You're
hit
right.
probably the most important home run in Mets history for Pete Alonso's, but Pete Alonso's could not happen unless Francisco Lindor did what he did.
You're right.
So he would be my choice. And he's such a leader. He's just a leader. He is the reason why Juan Soto is a New York Met. He's a captain without being called a captain. He does everything right. And the fans pretend they loved him. But at the beginning of this season, they were all over him. And I was one of the few people who would just yelling the other way, going, this is a Met. If you have him on your team, he's just a good soul.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well said. And we have a new guest that just joined us, so excited to have you back on. Can you introduce yourself again for us and for everybody that's watching live?
Absolutely. I'm Eli Sussman here from Fish on First.
Yep.
How many months ago was I on with you guys? I think it was maybe May.
Yeah,
Something like that. And but yeah, happy to be on again during this festive time of year. I was listening into the show for the first 20 something minutes, and then you said our next guest should be joining us shortly. And I'm like, oh, that's my cue. And so,
right on time.
So yeah, glad to join you guys again.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and glad to be live and just kind of learning the this new format here and try to get a little bit better each week. So that's the goal. So, but yeah, thank you for jumping on early and listening in. I appreciate it. So what we were talking about is we were kind of going around. There's no nominations or anything like that. It's open-ended discussion. So the first actual topic we were talking about, and you might have heard, was the MLB MVP not named Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge. So just interested to see your perspective on that question.
I liked the suggestion of Lindor and everything that he has done this year, being that with the contract that he was signed to coming to the Mets and with kind of the uneven performance of the team, like it reached a point where he somehow got underrated. He got to a point where I feel like he was a lot more famous and respected as a member of Cleveland than he was with the Mets until this year. And not even the start of this year. It took until the middle of this year. And then especially the way that things ended for him to really reestablish himself as one of the very best shortstops in baseball, to remind people very much at the time of his career. That was really, I think it's hard to dispute that one. Aaron Judge is like a pretty easy one to mention, just because not only offensively doing basically a repeat of what he'd done a couple of years ago, but also while playing center field for the Yankees, even though they didn't quite get to the ultimate goal that they wanted to. I think as somebody that follows the Yankees relatively closely, I primarily follow the Marlins, but the Yankees probably second most. For him to fill a void that they also had in center field while continuing to hit at that crazy level, and to get them as far as they'd gotten in the last 15 years, by Yankee standards, 15 years without making the World Series is almost an unthinkable drought. And for him,
really, right? When you say that out loud, it's like,
wow.
Wow.
For him to have such a big role in bringing that to an end, I think it'd be hard to go against those two.
Yeah, I agree. And I would go again, not because I'm a Mets fan, but Lindor is the choice for me. I definitely feel like they wouldn't have gotten anywhere as far as they did without him. I know there was some other talent that for the Mets that stepped up in a big way, but he was Mr. Consistent. Always had those big moments. So definitely would go Lindor on that one. So next, let's go into another one I want to ask, and we'll stay in the baseball world here. Is let me get my thing here. So who would you say MLB wise was the breakout performer this year in Major League Baseball? Somebody that doesn't mean he has to be a rookie, just someone that maybe has been in the league a little bit, hasn't done too much, but really stepped it up this year. Just somebody who just really caught your attention this year more than ever before for whatever reason. A lot of us, it's easy to stay in our bubble, right? Like being a Mets fan, I love watching the Mets broadcast. So I'm not going to do too much of other game watching if I'm already committing to a 3.5 hour broadcast or 2.5 hour broadcast. But from what you've seen, starting with you, Darren, do you have a breakout performer?
I think you mentioned earlier the pitcher from the Pirates, Paul, what's his name, Skis?
Yeah.
I mispronounced my own name. I think by far him, and I think if you are a Pittsburgh Pirate fan, you better go to see him pitch for you, because he won't be with you in 3 years.
Yeah.
He's going to go to the higher bidder, the Yankees or somebody like that, the Dodgers. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I think he is a talent.
Yes. And hello, Edwin. Good to see you on here. congratulations on the stomping that we were talking about that earlier. That was today's game. So it wasn't even close. We were out of it in the first quarter. So congratulations. Hopefully Atlanta loses for you tonight. So we'll see what happens there. But Harry, same question for you. And as you're thinking about that, we got baseball road tripper Tony Voda, who'll be on with us in a little bit. Mentioned Chicago White Sox and John Fisher, co-LVPs. Chicago White Sox. What a mess this year. That was awful. But Harry, who would your selection be for breakout performer?
I mean, I would have to go with Paul Skeens as well. Started the All-Star game as a rookie. That was pretty impressive. And looks like he's lined up to have a great career. The Pirates do have control of him for 5 years. It would be 6, but because he won the All-Star game, they lose 1 year. That's in the collective bargaining agreement. So they've still got him for 5 years, 5 seasons, 25, and moving forward. Yeah.
Wouldn't the game be so much better if you had, we'd like to see more than 1 star per roster, right? But if you had, 18 to 22 teams that had that guy, yes, you still have your big teams in there and stuff like that. But instead of just, the same every free agent, the same teams in the discussion, it was nice to see Arizona swoop in and get Corbin Burns out of nowhere. I don't think he was one of the top 3 teams that they were projecting. So it's always good when something like that outside the box happens. It's hard to watch those conferences. It's not about the money when obviously it's is what it is. But Eli, same question for you before. I know, Aileen, you mentioned Paul Skeens earlier as well. So, but
yeah, it's hard to argue against Skeens. I won't. But as a honorable mention, Jackson Merrill and what he did with the Padres this year. Entering after they made the Soto trade, like you looked at their outfield depth chart, and it was maybe one guy was Fernando Tatis as one outfielder, and everything else was a big shrug and a question mark. What made Jackson Merrill especially impressive is that he's not an outfielder, or he wasn't an outfielder at all. He was like a shortstop as recently as last year. So he learns a brand new position at about 21 years old, and he plays well enough in spring training to get that start. And he just got better and better as the season went on. He wasn't quite as valuable as Soto overall, but he wasn't that far off because he became a really good center fielder who hits for good power and is a very good base runner who also stayed healthy the entire year for them. And he was sitting in the middle of their lineup like throughout the entire season. He was maybe the most consistent player despite being a rookie and playing in this brand new spot. So even though I find Skeens to be inarguable, like Jackson Merrill, probably in 80% of seasons, it's a kind of year that wins you Rookie of the Year. And it was only because he had the misfortune of being in the same league and living in the same moment as Paul Skeens that he didn't have that award to like.
Yes, right. That's well said, because
he was
a lot of people may not understand his contributions, but for sure. I wanted to. Okay, so here's a fun one. Now it doesn't have to stay in the baseball realm. We can, but with this one, so most surprising professional sports team of 2024. I watch no NBA currently. Maybe someday. So I will refrain from NBA chatter here and just very little on the hockey front. But I want to go around on that one. Most surprising professional sports team that was not expected to do much this year and really surprised you with how far they got. So starting with you, Harry, on that question.
I would have to say the Minnesota Vikings. It's hard to argue with, 2 losses, and they're in a great division with Detroit, and Packers are always a great team, and they're right there. So it's hard to believe you could lose 2 games and be the 5th seed.
Right. That's
unbelievable.
Right.
Yep. And you could it probably won't, but you could theoretically be, I think it's 8 and 9 and win the NFC South. And then, it's kind of crazy with that. Right. So I like that answer a lot. That's definitely, we were talking earlier about that's probably the best team never heard of. So Aileen, what are your thoughts on most surprising team?
So I'm going to go with the Mets because they just.
I love you. Yes.
I know. I love you too. Good thing we're married. They just kept coming back to life. They would not take no or defeat for an answer. I mean, at the end, is the end. But I just usually Mike and I, I love Rays. He loves Mets. We pick on each other. But like halfway through the season, I was like, oh wait, like here we go. And then when Iglesias came out with the OMG song, it really seemed that was the morale that the fans, and then like the Grimace era, that all happened, and it really seemed like it was the morale that the team needed. And so I was very surprised by the amount of fans that were going crazy in the stands, and just the whole whirlwind of the entire package, not just the playing. The playing was great, but the entire package of all of a sudden they just got this like octane powered fuel to just blast them to the playoffs. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes. Great answer. I love it. But it was all the pieces fell right in place for them. And I remember being very depressed at the end of May, and then just everything changed. So very happy for that. So Darren, same question.
I think we are, and I will not be overstating this, I think that we are very fortunate the times that we are right now. I think the answer to that is a resounding Indiana fever and Caitlin Clark. You're watching somebody not only revive a league, but create a league and opportunity. This was a team that people were laughing at and making fun of this person as a player and as a team. And they went on and went to the playoffs. They were selling out. I mean, there would be 2,000 to 3,000 people at road games that they would go to, and they would sell them out, 20,000 fans. They sold out their every game at home. And the play was wonderful to watch. I became a huge fan of the WNBA. And I would say them, without a question.
Love it. And Eli, last one around the horn.
I will take the Kansas City Royals. They won a
good
30-game improvement from the previous year. They were seemed to be a total mess. And it did start in the offseason where they actually spent real money on free agents, which is uncharacteristic of them, even in good times during the course of their history. But they signed a couple starting pitchers, and those guys give them exactly what they wanted and more. All these other young players took a leap forward. And we didn't mention Bobby Witt in the non-Shohei MVP category, but he is somebody that was in that discussion as well. Bobby Witt Jr. Just turning into a super duper star that they already had him locked up for all these years to come. But for them to be in the postseason this year, after it had been about a decade since they had been in the postseason at all, but to do it on the heels of losing 106 games the year before, there were a couple moments in there where it looked like they were slipping, and then they steadied themselves just enough in order to get in. Once they got in, they beat the Orioles, a team that one of the few teams that throughout the year had looked like a superior team than them. But they went on the road, and to even win that series, made it even a little bit sweeter for them. So, I was pretty impressed by what they did. I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop throughout the entire year, and it really didn't. It just turned into this really consistently competitive team, a whole division in the American League Central that I think most people had regarded as the weakest division in baseball. And it turned out it was a really deep one that produced 3 different playoff teams, and them being one of them. So that whole thing really surprised me, even as it was playing out, where the sum was greater than the individual parts for the Royals this year.
And I'm going to surprise everybody. My answer with this was the Kansas City Royals as well. As much as I am a Mets fan, you can't deny 30 plus win increase. Not that we expected the Mets to go as far as they did, but I did expect them to still compete with who they had on the roster. So I was more surprised to see the Royals. And like you said, and there was a brief period there, I think it was early September, where it felt like nobody wanted to take that division, and then they got back on track. And Tony mentioned about the Timberwolves surprising in a bad way, went deep last season and stumbled out of the gate. And then totally underperforming. So, all right. So here is another one. This one will be fun to cover. So the most, now this might be across the board the same answer, but maybe you can think of something outside the box. I don't want to call this the Chicago White Sox award, but the most disappointing franchise of 2024. I'm assuming that's what it's going to be, but let's just find out your thoughts. So starting with you, Eli, is that your answer as well, or is there someone that tops them for a different reason?
Well, maybe I'm like intimately helplessly involved with what the Marlins are doing, and having to witness them firsthand, going from a playoff team to within a couple of days of the 2024 season being totally out of it. That was as really like demoralizing as that was. It wasn't all that surprising that they would regress a little bit. And even though they've gone about it in a really, I would say, heartless way, that has done a lot of damage to the fan base as a whole, they haven't sunk quite as low as the White Sox have. And for the White Sox, not just losing the games that they did, but the way that they lost those games throughout the entire season was something that we've barely seen before in baseball history. They just struggled in every different aspect of the game. Even some of the young players that they gave opportunities to, most of them didn't take advantage of those opportunities. So they've reached a point where spirits could not have been a whole lot lower. And so at the very end of the year, they make that record a little bit more respectable. It looks like they may have been on their way to setting the record by a larger margin than they actually did. But yeah, the White Sox are in a really messy situation.
Yeah, and you almost can't, you take that coaching job, you can't go wrong. I mean, you're gonna have to improve. So I appreciate the before we asked Eileen the same question, Darren, I got to appreciate the jersey swap number 3.
I noticed that, but I didn't want to interrupt.
So
Eileen, more to come.
Same question, Eileen. Most disappointing franchise. Are you going with White Sox as well?
No, I am not. And you know what I'm going to say. I am so mad at the owner of the Tampa Bay Rays or whoever is making their business decisions. OMG, it's terrible. They've traded away so many good players. They traded away Zach Eflin to their division rival in the midst of, it wasn't quite yet there. They were still in the race. They could have made it. But no, once they did that, I was like, okay, we're done with that. So, and then they traded, I can't even just go by the names, but then the stupidity of paying to repair a stadium that was destroyed by the hurricane that they're going to demolish in 2 years anyway. What are we doing there? And then paying to rent out Steinbrenner Field so they can play there instead of while they're getting the original stadium repaired that they're not going to use anyway. When they own a field at the riverfront, it's a minor league field, yes, but so is Steinbrenner. And it's like, why are we doing this? Now they're bankrupt. They're even saying they might not be able to afford the new stadium. So it's like, I don't even know where they're going to play. So I'm done.
Every single time
that's who I'm most disappointed in right now. I can't with them.
It seems like every time they have a vote, they say yes, but then the team itself is not sure they want to pony up or they can pony up the dough. So,
no, they can't because they're paying, for Steinbrenner and they're paying for a field that they're going to demolish in 2 years. I don't know who's making their financial decisions. There are no executive decisions being made.
As we wait for our next guest to pop on, I'm messaging him now to make sure all is well. Harry, same question for you.
It would have to be the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, yeah, good call. Good pull.
Yeah, with their quarterback Watson, they invested a lot of money in a guy that pretty much everybody else would not touch. And wow, it's proven to be a huge mistake that's going to hamstring them for quite a few seasons to come. Then, I like what Eileen said about Tampa and that stadium. Cleveland's doing the same thing. They're a $2 billion indoor stadium. They've got one advantage playing in Cleveland, and it's playing on the lake. It's so difficult to play there in the wintertime. Why you would build a $2 billion
Amen. Preach.
In
Preach.
Cleveland? Oh my goodness, what a mistake! And they're taking it away from the city. They're putting it out in the suburbs. Ridiculous.
And what's not ridiculous is Heather watching. Thank you, Heather, for watching along with us. We appreciate you being here.
Oh, hi, Heather.
Yes, please
Love
do
Heather.
get back into baseball. Then we're always going to get together, but that'll be fun.
Yes, then we can be baseball besties, Heather, because there's no other girls in this little chat.
And Darren, before you give your answer, we got to give Tony his time. The Athletics ownership only, RIP Ricky and John Fisher is the worst. Dave Cavall was a coward and should have resigned well before he got to Sacramento.
Amen.
So
He's
Dave,
not
Darren?
wrong. That's terrible. What's going on there? And I lived in outside that area for 16 years. So there's a pox on everybody on both sides. But I would say, and this is not regional bias. I was very mindful before I came to this conclusion. But without question, worse than the White Sox, because we didn't expect the White Sox to be good this year. I mean, we did not expect them to be that bad. But the Jets were supposed to be Super Bowl contenders, and they just no. You have Devontae Adams, you have wonderful, running backs, but they're just rudderless, and it shows how much when you think about me instead of the we, what happens, and it is just a wonderful example of how you can have wonderfully talented people, but when you don't build a team, what happens? And it's a disgrace.
Yeah. Well
Amen.
said. So as we continue on here, we're going to shift a little bit to the NFL for a moment. And I want to go ahead and ask the current. So here's the question. The current NFL division leader, least likely to win a first round playoff game. So obviously it cannot be the Lions or the Chiefs. They have the bye, so they're already in the second round. So current NFL division leader, least likely to win a first round playoff game. I know there's some easy low hanging fruit there to choose from. We don't even know. It could be, like, for example, NFC South could be the Bucs, could be the Falcons. I know some things still can be the Rams or the Cardinals, sort of, I'm sorry, not the Cardinals, but the Rams or the Seahawks. But before we go around on this question, this is very interesting to me, the Rams and the Seahawks. So if I believe they are tied for the Rams are one game ahead right now. If next week the Seahawks defeat the Rams, so they'll be tied, but based on all the different tiebreakers, they would be even head-to-head. They would be even in divisional record, conference record. So it would actually have to go to strength of victory. In that case, it's already been determined that in those cases, the Bills and the Lions, I believe, fell to the Rams. So they already kind of have the division on lock. So it's almost like they're not officially giving them the division just yet, but it's almost a guarantee that they do, unless, of course, something wonky happens. But because even with a loss next week, they would still hold the tiebreaker. So it's kind of interesting. So all that to say, starting with you, Eli, you have a thought on this one?
I'll have to say the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And
I knew I was going to say that.
Yeah, and so they don't have the division clinched quite yet. But it looks like it's trending in that direction. It's complicated because they've had, including today, they've had some really impressive wins in terms of what their offense can do, inspiring on all cylinders. But this is just about the way that the NFC bracket lines up. If they're likely going to be the number 4 seed and they have to play somebody from that NFC North gauntlet, whoever winds up dropping to that top wild card spot, even if they do have the home field advantage, that's not necessarily a place where you feel it quite as much as some of these other stadiums. No matter who they're playing from that wild card group, those are fan bases that travel really well, whether it's the Packers or the Lions. That I think that environment is going to be pretty supportive of whatever opponent comes into town with them. And those are teams that have simply been better than the Bucs were during the course of this season. It's just the fact that they were able to get in, that they're likely to get in, is more of a reflection of who they've gotten to play against and who they're competing against in the NFC South. But I think they are in for a pretty rude awakening, no matter how this lines up once they get into the playoffs.
Yeah, they are only 9-7. So it's not like a huge, great record. And it's also a reflection of how bad that division is, too. So,
really
all
is
things
unfortunate.
considered.
And Tony, you have a great question. I'll save that for right when you pop on. We'll make that the first thing we talk about here. So we'll definitely get to that one. So Darren, same question for you.
Oh, without question, Houston.
Okay. Yeah.
If I may, because it was quick and easy, and look, they're going to just be there and gone. They're going to have a cup of coffee in the playoffs and move on. But Eileen, you picked a sport. That's the jersey I'm going with. You picked a sport. What sport?
What sport of the jersey?
Yeah.
Oh, well, go NFL because, yeah.
NFL. Okay. NFL Sunday. I'll be back. I'll be the guy that looks like me. All right. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
So while that's
How
happening,
many
Harry,
good
same
does
question.
this guy have?
Yeah, it's hard to go away from the Texans. I mean, they've just looked so bad the past couple weeks, and their offense is very bad. So defense is not much better. They've just kind of fallen apart.
Yeah. And Eileen?
I have to agree with Eli. Whoever it is whether it's the Bucks or the Falcons, I think they'll be out. I love the Bucks. I'm a diehard, but reality.
Yeah.
So
Now, what I would say here, and I'm going to sound crazy. I believe, and I could be wrong, but that the Kansas City Chiefs will be a one and done this season. Now, I know their record is outstanding, but I'm on the minority that feel that their previous two runs were better than this run. I know what their record says, but if I'm going to be that guy, a lot of those victories were very strange victories. And so I'm not saying if they're playing Houston, they're going to take the L, but if they're up in the second round against a Buffalo or some of the other juggernaut, the Baltimore Ravens, I believe they are going to take a first round loss. Yes, in Kansas City, I'm probably crazy for saying this, but I believe that they're going to be one and done once they get there. So we'll see if I'm wrong. But me personally, I'm hoping for that Bills-Lions Super Bowl. But so, and as we're waiting for Darren to come back, and I did hear from Sean. Unfortunately, he was just about to pop on. Sean Schofield, former Major League Baseball umpire, just got a call in to work. Unfortunately, won't be able to join us, so we'll have to reschedule him. But that's okay because we have Tony Voda, baseball road tripper, just joined us here. So excited to have you on. I again appreciate when you hopped in, and filled in as co-host when Darren was unavailable. Had a great time. I'm sure we'll do that again. But so as promised here, let's dive into that question that you had: White Sox versus Rays. You both hope both stay in the current market, but does one of them move if and when they are sold? So your thoughts on that one before we give our thoughts on that.
Oh boy. Like I said, I don't want either of them to move. I think if the Rays do move, having them stay in that area, technically out of St. Pete and into Tampa, is about as far as I would want them to move. But I think the White Sox are probably the most likely of the two, just because they have potentially new ownership coming in. Reinsdorf has said that they want to sell the team, as well as my Minnesota Twins want to sell the team. So we will see a new AL Central and maybe a new location for the White Sox.
Okay. And I'll go next with that one. I don't think either will move, but I wouldn't. It'd be strange, right, to not have the White Sox in Chicago. With the Rays, I think something will happen. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And unfortunately, I just don't want to see what happened in Oakland happen in Tampa Bay. I think Eileen mentioned it earlier. To play in your rival's minor league stadium, to pay to have to play there, just seems silly for this year. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't feel like either team is going to move. I think we'll have an expansion team come in the league before we see any team actually relocate. But it certainly can happen. I wouldn't be shocked. So, Harry, your thoughts on that?
Well, if you're going to expand, you've got to expand two teams. I don't really see Chicago leaving, the White Sox leaving Chicago. They've been there for too long, too much of a tradition. I think they can turn it around with the right ownership and management. Same with the Rays. I mean, the unfortunate part about the Rays, I know, Eileen, you're kind of frustrated, but for a small market team, they've done such great management of their roster and their player development, and knowing when to trade people and knowing the value of their own players. They've done a really great job of that. They just have made terrible business decisions. Yeah. And that stadium down there is a travesty, even when it was brand new.
It was a dump.
Yeah. So I think if they got a beautiful stadium down there, people would love to come and see the games. But let's hope that South Florida supports that team, because it would be fantastic.
Agreed. And Eli?
I have a feeling that neither of them are going to go anywhere when all is said and done. As messy as especially the Rays situation has been for the last few years, and especially this year in particular, I think that the league's going to work it out somehow. Once all the dust settles on all of the like municipal drama that's been going on, especially in the Rays situation. Yeah, and with the White Sox, it is just a reminder of how ownership can like single-handedly put your franchise in a terrible spot. The accumulation of all these like bad decisions that get made over time are the things that can make the team not only non-competitive but so unlikable that you're in a situation where if they're not all that far away from seeking a new stadium, that all of a sudden the community doesn't really want to go out of its way to support them. But that being said, like I think they somehow get through the worst of that. And we just went into the White Sox and how terrible a year they actually had. But honestly, if you look at the baseball moves they made this offseason and even some of the trades they made at the deadline, I think that turnaround is going to be a lot quicker than you might expect just based on the record alone. That they might not actually be all that far away from stabilizing. It would certainly help if Jerry Reinsdorf was out of the picture. But even with him, even in spite of him, I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of bounce back a lot quicker to normalcy than you might expect just based on how awful things were on the field last year.
And I hope
that's before I get to you, Darren, with that last to comment on that one. I think back to the meme. I forget which pitcher it was. I believe it was a relief pitcher that got traded from the Dodgers to the White Sox sometime this season. And the meme of just him, the most depressed look you could possibly have, to be at the highest of highs, to now be sitting in Chicago with a 20-something win team at that point that the trade was made. So, Darren, your thoughts on that question that Tony?
Well, I don't think the White Sox are going to go anywhere either. I mean, they could, and where I think they would end up if they did, might surprise you. But I think that they will stabilize. Why? Because it's an AL franchise in one of the big markets. And I don't think anybody wants what happened with the Giants and the Dodgers in New York to ever happen again. I think the league it doesn't look good for the league. I think the Rays should be in Tampa. I think that they may be the one to move. I mean, it's unfortunate, but much like the A's, I mean, baseball road trip you talked about. I mean, that's a disgrace what has happened there, and I think that the Rays may find themselves in either Montreal, Salt Lake City, or Oklahoma.
You know what's sad is I feel like they would probably be supported more in any of those places. Maybe not Montreal, but out west. I feel like they would get more support because I don't know if you guys remember, maybe it was a couple years ago, Orlando was teasing us with opening a team. I think it was probably a minor league team called the Orlando Dreamers. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe if they get a stadium, we can, the Rays can move to Orlando. That would be a perfect place because you got people coming in from all over the country, going on vacation to Disney World or Universal or whatever. And hey, catch a game while you're on spring, down here on spring break or up, during summer vacation or whatever. Because people are spending so much money to come down to Orlando. Add one more thing off the bucket list. And plus that would only be 45 minutes away for me, or maybe an hour and a half. But so I would really like to see the Rays in Tampa Bay. Right now they're in St. Petersburg, which is an extra 45 minutes away from Tampa Bay. So for location and driving purposes, I feel like a lot more fans would start to support the Rays if they were actually in Tampa Bay and it wasn't such a pain in the butt to get out to go see a game. So if Mike and I wanted to go see, I don't know, a 7:00 game, we're not getting back to Palm Bay until 1-2 o'clock in the morning. So that stops us from going. And so, maybe if they were in Tampa, we might swing it a little more often. But that's just what jersey did you get there, Darren? Sorry, I'm super ADHD. Sorry.
No, that's fine. This is a Raiders jersey.
Oh, okay.
Raiders
okay.
with the big win today, 25-10 over
Woo-hoo!
the Saints. So it doesn't mean anything, but win's a win. So I'm going
Means
to
a low
shift
draft pick.
here. Hopefully everybody is good with it. And we'll have some time for some sports talk towards the end. I know this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode. Usually we go 1 hour. Tonight we'll be going to 9. So if anyone has to go early, we'll forgive you. We'll allow it. But hopefully you can stay on with us here. So we'll get back to some sports stuff here in just a little bit. But before our next guest comes on, I want to go across around the room. So 2024 was not just about sports. There were some other things that happened as well. So one of the things we'll touch on later is best sports story of 2024. So I do want to cover that in just a bit. But one of the other things we do on this channel, it's not just sports. Sometimes we'll have some entertainment stuff. Sometimes we'll talk a little bit about just all different types of topics. So I want to ask this: best TV series or show in 2024. Doesn't mean that it just started this year. It could be something that you discovered this year. It could be a new season that you got into. So I always like to myself know what to watch next or something I might not know of. So I want to cover that next here in terms of year-end awards. And so starting with you, Darren, for that question. And welcome to the show, Joe. Giants blew it. Well, not today. They did good today, but yes.
He blew the draft pick. He's what he's saying. He blew the draft pick.
Okay, I got you now. I'm on the same page. So Darren, best TV series of the year, or surprise series for you, or show that maybe nobody's talking about.
Well, I was very late to the party with Tulsa King, and I really, really enjoyed that show a lot. It's funny, and Sylvester Stallone is really wonderful in it. Leans heavily into it. But I got to tell you also, Landman. I just love Landman. I mean, so it's like a tie. I'm just a big. I just enjoy that Americana kind of story that shows the highs, the lows, the this, the that's, and the writing is wonderful. The acting's wonderful. Billy Bob Thornton is wonderful in Landman, just wonderful in that, and so it's a tie.
Okay, we'll allow it. Harry, same question. Do you have a TV series?
I don't have anything on that one. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll just call it a tie. Same question, Eli, to you for that.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Maybe I don't know when it was in my life where I just lost the attention span to watch all that many TV shows. But this one, it's not brand new, but this was the year where I discovered it. I think that's the way that a lot of us digest TV shows now, is like when it comes to our attention, even if it's 2 years old or 10 years old or 20 years old or generations old. But Reacher on Prime Video, it's now what 3 seasons in, and I had like throughout the entire summer, I had like a couple of my guys that worked for me that kept mentioning it back and forth between them, and I didn't get any of the references. They just kept going and going, and it made it clear on like the 5th or 6th reference that I was missing out on just a really fun action show that's also really clever and well acted. So Reacher on Prime Video, and I think the 3rd season just went out like a week or so ago.
I saw something come.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a good time.
All right, and Tony, what's your answer to this one?
So not technically a TV show. I watch a lot more on YouTube, but I really like the YouTube series called Jetlag the Game, and it's a really fun entertainment thing. Basically, 3 friends going around the world playing tag. And it's a really cool concept, and it just makes me want to travel more. So can't say no to that.
No, that's great.
Do they like leave little fun clues about how to get there and stuff like that?
Yeah, each series is different. The current one that they're on, they're in Japan, so they get on a train and they basically have 3.5 hours to hide from their friends, and then their friends start to chase them, and they can basically text them and ask, okay, what is the tallest building? Send us a picture of that you can see. And they take all these clues and then basically look at these maps and try to figure out exactly where they're hiding and then go chase after them.
Okay.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun. Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. And old reruns of the Newlywed Game. Okay, that's an option. Eileen, same question for you.
So mine's not new. It's an oldie but a goodie. But it's the first time I ever watched it. A lot of people were like, "Oh, you gotta watch this, gotta watch this." And at the time, my son was very young, so I never really got into it. But Gilmore Girls, which I know nobody here in this.
We gotta let you go. They gotta let you go now.
Exactly.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah. So for me, it's been Gilmore Girls. And then the other one that I really didn't think I was gonna like a lot was Yellowstone. But so I was like, one day I was just bored and I just clicked on it, and I love it. It's so good. So it's the weird two ends, two polar opposites, Gilmore Girls and Yellowstone. So
Couldn't be any more different. No. I'm gonna throw something way out there. So this is definitely not new. It's been out for many years. But the very beginning of 2024, I ran into, and it's back to the sports world, ran into a documentary on Netflix that's been there forever. I just hadn't seen it, called The Long Shot, and I'm sure some of you have heard of that one. This is where it was Juan Catalan was arrested for a murder he didn't actually commit, and exhausting all methods of proving his innocence. This is what do you call it, biography or documentary, and exhausted all things. And turns out they were filming an episode for a TV show on HBO. And in the footage, while of that, after hours and hours and hours of skimming the videotapes, they see clear shot of the gentleman and his daughter at the baseball game at the time that the murder supposedly was committed. And even still after that, there was still some final hurdles, but he was eventually proven to be innocent because he sat in the right section at the right time while they were filming. So that's an awesome show. If you haven't got an opportunity, it's on Netflix still, called Long Shot. Awesome show. It's hard to watch, to imagine the amount of years he spent behind bars for what he didn't commit. Awful. So, but Heather likes that show too, Newlywed Game. Okay, so I'm going to ask one more question here, and then I have a next guest that's going to come on right after that, and I'm going to kind of introduce her, shift gears just a little bit. So going into movies now. So the best movie that you saw in theaters, and if you didn't get to make it to the theaters, front of your house, it'll be okay too. The best movie you saw in theaters in 2024. Harry, you didn't have a TV show for us. Do you have a movie for us?
The Chosen.
yes.
The Chosen. Okay.
Sorry, I just got really excited.
Yes, and getting to see that in the theater and not just at home was awesome. To see the season finale and just I think each time was like multiple episodes, so
yeah,
that was super cool. So, okay, great answer, Darren. I know you are the movie guru probably of the panel. You have the pass, which if anyone gets the opportunity to do that, I think it's what, 20 something a month for
$21 a month, unlimited movies.
Yep,
it's in theaters. It's great.
As long as you don't say Barbie, the floor is yours.
So don't judge me. No, I would have to say Sonic 3. No, I'm kidding. A lot. There was a bunch of movies that, and I should have been more prepared. I mean, I just saw A Complete Unknown, which was wonderful, the Bob Dylan story. I mean, it was absolutely wonderful. It helped me just remember all the things that made me so socially conscious to lean into things like DEI and understanding about we're not here alone, right? We're here to help serve others. But there's a lot of good movies. Gladiator 2 was a wonderful movie. Wicked was a wonderful movie. It's a tie. There's so many different movies out there that I were just very, very good.
Okay. Eileen, same question?
Okay. Well, I just saw Wicked, and it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of Ariana Grande's pop culture singing. I'm not really a pop kind of girl. I really like rock a lot. But it was a fantastic musical. I might have been having the soundtrack in the car. But another really good movie that I got to see this year that probably won't be really high on anyone's radar is called The Fall Guy. And that
was fun. That was a very fun movie.
That was a really fun movie. It was really good.
I've seen everything,
It was
kids.
pretty original, you know? Like, I feel like we've been getting like reboots and sequels and prequels and revamps and all this junk that we don't want shoved down our throats. And I feel like Fall Guy was super refreshing. But I will tell you one that I absolutely hated. Joker, Folie à Deux. I swear.
That was the worst movie of the year by far.
That was the worst
By
2
far.
hours of I invested
I'll
time
never
in
get
like
the
nothing.
2 hours back.
Yeah. I was so mad. I really
Yeah,
wanted to see like Harley Quinn and Joker like destroying stuff. Like that's the not singing to each other.
No, and then listen, I'm not giving anything away, and if I am, too bad. He's not even the Joker, people. It's terrible.
He is.
Terrible.
He just admitted that he's not because he's weird.
No, he's not the Joker. Sorry.
But he killed 6
The Joker's the
people.
guy that kills him. Sorry, people. I ruined
Okay,
it for
so
you.
that's I
Move
didn't
on.
know if he was gonna like take on his Joker spirit and like take it to the next movie or
No.
something.
Nope.
Or wow, what a loser.
Can you
And
tell we hated that movie?
we see Joe mentioned in the comments the Forge. So actually, I'm going to plug Man Cave here,
That's a
Joe. If
good
you're
one.
free the fourth Friday of January, unfortunately, I won't be there. I got tickets to go to Orlando that night to see Rock the Universe. But the fourth Friday of January, we're actually going to be showing the Forge at Man Cave. So that'll be a lot of fun. But good selection there for sure. Same question, Eli.
I'll talk more about A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan movie, because I just saw it yesterday. And I saw it with my family, including my dad, who Bob Dylan was. The Beatles are his favorite all-time artist, but Bob Dylan was like 1A for him.
Me too.
He lived right through basically. I guess he was a little young to understand when Bob Dylan at the very start of his career, and most of this movie takes place in the 60s. He was still a little young for that, but he's been following Dylan ever since then for like so much of his life. So to be there and to see it through like next to him with our different perspectives on that was interesting. Like the resemblance that the actor has to the real life Dylan.
Timothy Chalamet, what a job he did.
Yeah, it was just that acting job and all the little details impersonating him as not just a person, but also as an artist as well. Like to actually really nail it's such a unique singing style. Like, especially when I was growing up, it was one that I didn't really get it. I didn't get why people thought this was good just because it's not a traditionally beautiful singing voice, but the execution of it was awesome in this case. For somebody that like, if I'm not somebody that really signs up to watch traditional musicals, I don't really love that experience. And in this case, I felt like they just this really great blend between incorporating a lot of his songs, but also not making it like an actual musical, like really just towing that line between making it an actual story, but also incorporating all these different songs and what was acknowledging in there. And also not being overly flattering towards Bob Dylan himself, like also portraying the flaws that he had, the fact that the way that he was prickly with his own fans, the way that he throughout the whole movie, you don't really see him really do anything generous for other people. You like they really covered who he was from all corners instead of sucking up to him. And that's sometimes an issue with either biopics or other movies we see today that are inspired by powerful people or successful people, is like there's like this need to make them different and more perfect than they actually were. But in this case, yeah,
the other way.
I need to really give a round of applause to everybody that was a part of that.
I got it. Spot on, Eli. I totally agree with your assessment.
Yep. And Tony, same question. And then right after that, I'm going to have our newest guest jump on here with us. So Tony, floor is yours, and then I'll add her to the podcast.
Well, I didn't really see many movies this year, but I'm going to have to watch that Bob Dylan one because being a Minnesotan, I feel like I kind of am forced to. I mean, he's our guy. So since I can't really think of much, I'm just going to throw back to some oldies that I just watched with my family, and it's a yearly tradition, and that is Christmas Vacation and Elf. I mean, it's the season, and those are my two favorites.
All right. By a show of hands, who has actually tried syrup on spaghetti?
How was it?
Oh, okay.
No, you had to. You're watching Elf. You got to watch that.
I do put syrup on ice cream, though. That is.
Oh, same thing.
Yeah, same thing. So
All right,
at this
hey
time,
guys, Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, honey, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna turn into a pumpkin if I don't get my beauty sleep. I gotta work
Okay.
early in the morning. So you guys, peace out. It's been so much fun. Bye.
Yes, it has. Bye.
I got to go too, Mike.
Okay, we're gonna
Thank
have.
you.
So
Great
with that
seeing you
said,
guys.
bye guys. So with that said, at this time, we're going to introduce our newest guest here. So let me throw her on here. And yes, she is here. And this is Daleigh Thames, and we are excited to have you on here. So I'm gonna ask if you could just mind to introduce yourself to the panel here, and then I'll kind of chat after that, and we'll go into our next topic here.
Hi, I am Daleigh. I'll introduce myself. I'm 29 years old. I am from Florida, lived in Palm Bay. Hi, Caleb. And I have been trying to get out there doing a lot of singing and performing, and I got introduced to this competition. That's how I met Mike, and he invited me to this podcast. So here I am.
Well, thank you for joining us. And just a little backstory. So the event she is referring to is called the Family Christmas Extravaganza. So it's we call it the largest party on the Space Coast. And so every December, the third Saturday, this was our 16th year, we rock out at Fred Poppy Park in Palm Bay, Florida. And we invite sometimes entertainers fly out there. Everything is free from the moment you get there. Parking is free. Entertainment is free. Rock wall climbing, face painting, food, concession, car show, pony rides, everything. Hopefully you got to see a little bit of everything. But so this year we thought outside the box. We said, let's focus on the local talent. Yes, we love we brought in a big worship band called Unified Sound. They rocked it, but really was pressed to invite local talent out, give them an opportunity on the big stage to perform. And it's a unique event, and we don't have the final numbers yet, but they're estimating between 26 to 28,000 people came out to this event on that day, which is outstanding. Not everybody comes at one time. Not everybody's sitting by the stage. People are all spread out and stuff like that. So this year at the event, what was really cool is we did an event called Extravaganza's Got Talent. And so this was basically inviting local talent to submit an audition. It could be a singing, dancing, comedic, just anything really that we could theoretically do on a stage. Unfortunately, there was one talent that wanted to do some kind of this one act. We just didn't have the support to do it. So hopefully next year we'll have the right stage for that and stuff. So each talent submitted auditions, and Daleigh was one of 14 that initially came in. I think then there were more after that. So we invited 9 out to perform at the Extravaganza. They each had to sing one song or perform their one act. And then as soon as that was completed, we had our judge panel there and stuff. And at the end of that, we had 3 prizes. We had a third place prize of $300, $600 second place prize, and $1,000 grand prize. And Daleigh was our winner of the Extravaganza's Got Talent this year. So if that's okay, gentlemen, because my wife had left the room, and Darren looks like he's about to do another jersey change, I'm assuming. So let me give him a quick second to do that, because I don't want him to miss this. But I just got hot off the press our recap video of the event. So if you guys are cool, stay on for that. I want to share that here just a second. With the event, super excited to be able to share this. So it'll be a lot of fun. But you rocked it. There were so many good talents there, and we'll definitely be in touch to hopefully have you back out for a few songs, especially this next year, 2026. We're already, once we hit the beginning of the year, we're already planning for the next event. So we're ready. So without said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and show that trailer of the Family Christmas Extravaganza 2024.
What do you think about the Family Christmas Extravaganza?
I think it's a beautiful event.
Yeah, what do you like about it?
The music, most definitely.
What do you enjoy about the Extravaganza?
Getting the community together, the happiness happiness, seeing the children's happy faces, and as a single mom, the freeness.
So on behalf of the mayor and the city of Palm Bay, Pastor Ken, I present to you this proclamation that declares December 21st, 2024 as Family Christmas Extravaganza Day throughout our city. Well, I'm excited that you join us. You know, I believe I'm a man of faith, and God's telling me to do something. I listen to what he tells me, okay? So he's telling me to give you and gift you a $100 gift card. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what it is that why he wants to put this in your hand, other than that he loves you and he understands you, and he's gifting you $100.
Are you serious?
Yes, ma'am. And the authorization code's in the back, so this isn't stolen.
Well, I'm so grateful, and I thank you so much.
All right, so that was super fun to be able to get that video, and I know it's outside of the sports realm, but I think this is something near and dear to my heart. Put my heart and soul into this event. My wife sacrificed a lot of time with me not being home to kind of put this event together, and so as much as I love that event, I'm secretly happy it's over, so I can have a little bit more free time on my end. But Daleigh, just wanted to get your perspective. I love that shot there at the end with the check and the confetti going off. That was awesome. But just to get your perspective, if you wouldn't mind sharing kind of the thought of when you first submitted the audition and heard back from us, and then I saw you promote a little bit on social media before you came out, and just what that experience was like for you.
It was my first experience trying to share with everybody what I was doing and actually be excited enough because I got into the competition. I got told from a friend from my job that I was at before. He sent me the link on Facebook. I wasn't even looking for it. So he told me that I needed to audition. I needed to get in front of this and just be a part of it, because he just loved how much I loved music and wanted to be a part of the community with it. So getting into the competition was amazing. It was really terrifying after I got in, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what to do with the sound check. I didn't know who I was going to meet. I didn't know how big everything was going to be. So walking onto the stage was amazing. It was the first time I got to be on a big stage on a competition like that. And everybody was so welcoming and warm, and it was a lot of fun, even just doing the sound check. I didn't know that many people were going to be there. So that was also the first time I've sung in front of that many people, and it was just really fun. It was it made me want to keep doing it. It made me want to keep joining competitions and singing and with people and getting to meet more of the community and be involved into everything. So I really loved it. I loved all the tents, and I loved walking around and seeing everybody together and seeing all the families. It was just such a good experience. I want to do it every year. I didn't even know you guys did these types of events every year. So now I just want to be a part of them.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because each year we do the parade 2 weeks before, and there's 20,000 people that go to this parade. I think a lot of people, even when Z88.3, the radio station that came to support us at the event, and Hot 95.9, I think they thought Palm Bay was this little small village town, and then they got there like, oh my goodness, it was a 10-mile walk for the parade. It's insane how many people. but I would say 7 out of every 10 people that I pass the flyer to have no idea what the event's about, which blows my mind. Just shows how many new people are coming to Palm Bay. So I don't know, Eli, I know you're in Miami area. So I don't know if have you heard of us in Palm Bay, little Palm Bay?
Well, only from my podcast appearance earlier this year.
Okay.
That's my introduction, but that was
we're not bragging, but we just moved up to the 13th most populated city in Florida. So we're getting there. We're getting there. It's just a bunch of people, not a lot to do here. A lot of people. But we are our neighboring cities getting a Dave & Buster's and a Top Golf. So we're working our way up the ladder of who's who in Florida. So but and then Daleigh, with that experience and definitely we'll definitely be in touch. We got a lot of time to kind of plan out and stuff like that. But did you get to kind of, you mentioned, I know you were in the green room a little bit, but did you get to go around the event and see some stuff? Or
yeah, I got to see all the tents, and I only got to go into 1 or 2 of the tents because everything was actually so crowded.
Yeah.
And there were so many lines. So I was just walking around trying to see everything. But just seeing how much people were willing to give and how many associations were there to donate and just be a part and help build the community was really fun to see.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to ride the pony, but I never got to get over there. I was really upset about it too.
The pony, right? They always come through for us every year. They usually bring some other animals and stuff too. They couldn't, so we had a smaller company come this year, and it was still a lot of fun. I didn't even know, I had been part of this event for so long, I didn't even know where that area was until this year. But you mentioned the crowds. I got a golf cart, right? And I was so excited to drive. I always wanted to be the guy. I'm a big baseball fan. I always wanted to be the guy, baseball stadium, driving a golf cart around like I was important or something. And I was so excited to get this golf cart. But there were so many people, I couldn't go more than 3 feet without hitting the horn. And it was the most sad little horn because nobody could hear it. Nobody moved. So I just at some point, and I remember specifically, I was listening on the radio and I got a call. Please come to the bounce houses immediately. 6 of the 9 bounce houses have been deflated. So I remember trying to drive there. I couldn't make it. So I started running as fast as I could. And I get a call that somebody passed out from exhaustion on the other side of the park. And then there was a domestic incident with a parent and a child all at the same time. And I was like, I got to choose one of these, So I had to delegate. Okay, hey, Susie, can you handle that one? I'm going to go take care of this one. But it's a good problem to have. It just means that the community is flourishing. And so I want to ask just a sidebar here to you, Tony. And so we know you've had you on in the past, obviously, but your area that you live in is where? Like what city?
Minneapolis, St. Paul area.
Minneapolis. So what is that area like right now in terms of population wise, just in terms of, is it growing exponentially?
Mike, are we going to not pretend he's wearing a glove on his head? I love it. Everything about
that.
It's a magic glove.
Yeah.
I would say it's stabilizing. It's the community. Well, I mean, this time of year is very quiet because it's getting cold now. A lot less people want to go outside when it's below freezing. But I would say that if we've learned anything since COVID, and also since we had that unfortunate incident with George Floyd's death, it's that there's been a sense of community. There's a lot more people that are getting together, that are having celebrations. We've had, for decades now, we've had a really good theater scene, but I would say that our art scene in general has kind of exploded in the past few years. We're seeing more of the art fairs pop up in even some of the suburbs. I'm technically in Golden Valley, and we have a really big one, and it's been nice to see. And we're also kind of, like we were just talking about, Bob Dylan, we had Prince, we've had some pretty big names for having such a small city and small state. So I think art runs pretty deep here.
Yeah, and you mentioned that theater is doing well. You said, right, in your area. The one thing that's popping up with us, and I'm not sure if everybody knows this. I know Darren does, but one of the things I'm also, fortunate enough, God's provided for me many ways. But one of my hats that I wear, I'm a children's pastor at our church, and so one of the things that I'm with that and kind of have the pulse on what to see the children enjoy theater as much as they do, music as much as they do, and one of the things that's flourishing here right now is these Christian pop-up clubs where instead of replacing the alcohol and all that sort of stuff with, hey, they're going into areas that we're not doing very well, and they've renovated those facilities into it. There's one I just went to Jacksonville 2 months ago to see an artist. I think it was the Murray Hill Theater, and it was a fantastic small little place. I don't know about you, Daleigh, I love going to smaller venues. Like, there's nothing wrong with going to the Amway Center in Orlando, those big stadiums, but I like the smaller venue. It just sounds better. It's more intimate. And I fell in love with this place. I'd never heard of this theater, and it was just awesome. And the different talent that they bring in the Christian world, it's just awesome that people show up and it's flourishing. And this building was about to be condemned. They said, no, I'm going to step up, and we're going, it's nonprofit. And they made it into a safe place where you can come. Instead of getting a beer, you're getting soda, you're getting popcorn, you're getting hot dogs. I just thought that was awesome. And now I think he's 29 years in. I spoke to the owner because we're trying to bring in one of the artists that I saw there to Extravaganza next year. And it was just awesome to see that they were about to condemn this, and he believed in it. Now he's 29 years strong, almost 30 years of artists performing at that venue. So that is pretty cool. So and Eli, I wanted to ask you. So you're in Miami, right? Or are you just outside? Yeah, obviously you're. Yeah,
basically.
So what is that? I haven't been in about a year. So I last went to a Mets Marlins game just over a year ago. But what's that area like right now where you're at in terms of just business booming, that sort of thing?
Yeah, where to begin?
I know.
No, things are going pretty well. And I enjoy it a lot. Other than it's just I live in an especially diverse area of Miami where the majority of my neighbors are Hispanic and speak Spanish first. But we just have the variety of things that we have available down here is awesome. As usual, every single year there's more people around during the winter months than elsewhere because snowbirds coming down from the north that you don't know exactly where they're all staying, but they visit especially for the holidays. This past week is where the lines are a little bit longer for me when I go to go out to eat or go anywhere. Like I noticed that the traffic is a little bit crazier than even it is under normal circumstances, and under normal circumstances it's pretty crazy. And that's why I enjoy having a flexible schedule, because if you're driving at normal times of day, it takes so long to go where you're trying to get to. But that's ultimately a good sign, because that means a lot of people want to be here and want to hang out here as well. So in all the time that I've been down here, it continues to be like this just really fulfilling, exciting, sometimes hectic experience to just live in this community.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and I do look forward to going back, hopefully next season, because it's gonna be hard. We always make a point to go to a Tampa Bay Rays game. It's gonna be more difficult with season ticket holders taking most of the seats up at the new stadium. So I might have to do a Miami trip this year. So I'll definitely let you know if that happens instead of going to our normal Tampa spot. Darren, just a two-part question for you. One, just if you wouldn't mind, because we're kind of covering our areas right now, where you want to share about where you live and what's going on there. And then if you had any questions for Daleigh in terms of her pursuing, like she mentioned, this was her first, spotlight. It couldn't be any better than winning the grand prize, $1,000 on stage with confetti and thousands of people. But if you had a follow-up question for her.
Yeah, I have a two-part question for Daleigh, but I'll start with the other one first. I've been fortunate enough, blessed enough to live in certain areas of the country, and that continues right now. I live in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and it is just beautiful. And it is a vacation spot during the summer. And during the fall, it's just beautiful with the leaves changing, and you're right on the water. Now we're at the time where it is least populated. In fact, a lot of the businesses close for a 2-month break. And it's a wonderful place to live. I got the partial season ticket package with the Red Sox. So I get to those games, and I'm Very fortunate. It's a wonderful place to live. Daleigh, I have a couple questions for you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
First, when did you get your creative chops? And what would you say was your initial influence that led you toward wanting to be a singer and wanted to pursue that?
I have been singing for as long as I can remember. My mom told me I used to run in front of the TV when Shania Twain and Lauryn Hill were on. I would watch their
Lauryn Hill is, I mean, Shania Twain's great too. Lauryn Hill is beautiful voice.
I love her.
Oh, she's just so good.
I feel like, yeah, she was one of my favorites. I would just put her soundtrack on over and over. And she was one of my bigger influences, as along with Amy Winehouse. I love listening to her. So I just listened to a lot of old stuff because I hung out with my grandparents a lot too. So I went back into like the 50s and 60s music. So I'd always wanted to be up and in front of people singing. And then I started figuring out how to play guitar. I started teaching myself around 2012, 2013. So then a few years after that, I started writing my own music. So I've been I have a few songs on guitar, but then I've been trying to really focus on writing and the aspect of it. So I've been doing a lot of that. And I just recently started going to like karaoke and open mics just to see how everything's done and what connections there are and who to talk to. And
listen, that's so, take it from some, it's so important. Do that. Network. But, Eli and I were talking about A Complete Unknown, the movie we just seen, and you actually just dovetailed right into something that happens in that movie without giving anything away. How do you juggle your creative desire to write your own music and perform your own music, but yet the need to show people the standards and some of the older stuff that they know and they want to hear? How do you juggle covers and original music?
I actually struggle with that a lot because how I guess I taught myself how to sing was I would like a certain artist or how they sang something. So I would just kind of listen to them until I could kind of sing like them. And I felt like I was able to jump into so many genres. I didn't feel like I knew how to sing anything and I knew what I sounded like. So I started trying to write stuff and see what it sounded like to sing like me instead of trying to sing an Amy Winehouse song or sing a Lauryn Hill song, what's it like to sing a Daleigh song. And from going off after that, I just really enjoyed it. And then I got brave enough to actually sing one of my songs, a song or two, to some people, and they actually liked it. So I was like, okay, so maybe there is something here other than just I don't know, just repeating. And then I don't know.
Oh, that's a great answer, actually. That's a great answer. I like hearing that. And congratulations. And I'd love to hear your music sometime.
I would love to show you.
Definitely.
And for, they were the song, did you know going in, like, because obviously you submitted your audition, did you know going into the event, because I know it was a lot of unknown to you, weren't sure what to expect, right? But did you have any doubts on what song you were going to perform day of? Did you kind of go back and forth with that, or did you kind of know?
100%. I didn't know what I was singing until I sent it in. I even pushed off sending it in. They were like, are you coming? Are you going to be doing this? I was like, I am. I just don't know what I'm singing because I know this is really important and I need to pick the right song. So even up until the moment I sang the song, I was still like, is this the right one? Was this a good pick? Did I flop on it? So it was really also uplifting to find that I can kind of see the surroundings and kind of get the vibe of what's going on and pick that type of, I have that, a plethora to pick from like that of genres and music, so I can kind of just go through any crowd or anything and see, okay, I think this is what will be the best option for this type of venue. So it was hard. It was hard trying to figure out what to sing up until that very moment. And I was terrified until I started singing.
I imagine so. And Tony, you have a question for
yeah. Since it's a year end and everyone is putting together like their best of for the year. I really love music. I love going to live entertainment. I was just wondering, Daleigh, like, do you have any favorites from 2024 that really inspired you or that you think are just really great that people should hear?
Any songs?
Any songs, any albums, any artists that really stood out to you in 2024?
My favorite album that I have had on repeat is Jasmine Sullivan. Her latest album, Hotels, is my absolute favorite. I think it's like the perfect album. I have it on.
A little quick with my finger there, but that's okay.
So, I got a vibe, if I may say, because this is the first I've heard. I got a Noah Jones vibe out of you, big time.
I also love Norah Jones, so I love. That's funny. I used to listen to her a lot too.
Yep. And it wasn't it wasn't a trying to be Noah Jones. You could just get the same vibe, which is wonderful. I mean, it was really good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And so just any final thoughts? I know we're going to, in the last few minutes, we're going to wrap up with one or two more sport end of year things before we wrap up. So I just want to give you the opportunity. Anything else you wanted to share in your end? I just want to, again, thank you for coming on with us. And you mentioned a little nervous and couldn't tell it at all. I mean, went great for you being nervous at the Extravaganza. So just encourage you to continue on and please continue to keep in touch. We'll biggest supporters you mentioned. And everyone there was nothing but nice to you. We have an awesome team and we just want to support. We love our local talent. So just please keep me in a loop of anything that you're doing. I'd love to help you promote that and just get the word out there. So, but any last comments on your end?
No, I just, I'm very thankful that you invited me to the podcast and to just share my experience with you guys. I want to keep in touch with everybody, like you said, and I just keep pushing and going out there with music and getting it more into the community so that everyone can kind of see what I want to do.
Awesome. And Rob Medina, mayor, was supposed to jump on with us. He must have got called into something with his mayor duties. So we'll have to have him on again another time. But thank you again. Really appreciate it. And Eli, Tony, Darren will stay on and you're welcome to stay on though if you'd like. We're going to wrap up with our last two sport questions for the evening before we shut this down and wrap up 2024. But again, Daleigh, thank you so much for being on here and we'll be in touch in the new year.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for everything.
You're very welcome.
All right.
And before we wrap up with our last two sport questions here, I do see Brian Anderson dropped in and Heather as well. Commanders strike first. We talked about a little bit earlier. Commanders, Falcons, big game tonight. So be interested to see what happens with that. And Heather is with us as well. Always a supporter of our show. So thank you, Heather, for being on with us. So Tony, I'm going to ask you this question. I just heard from Rob. He said, sorry, he couldn't make it. But no worries.
Bye, everybody.
Now, so we'll see. So bye. See you later. So Tony, I had a question for you as we wrap up some more things. So I talked a little bit about the best sports story of 2024. And so if you had one thing that stood out for you for the best sports story of 2024.
I'm going to stay personal on this one, and I'm going to go with Shohei Ohtani's 40-40 home run hitting right off of my glove. It might not feel like it was the best for me, but I think that what came of it and just building those relationships with a lot of the folks in LA and having the most unique view on maybe one of the greatest seasons in MLB history. It was pretty fantastic. So I got to play this much of a role in Shohei's season, which I'll take any day.
Yeah, sorry to top that. Eli, same question.
This came up earlier on the pod from Darren, Caitlin Clark, and the way that her star absolutely exploded in a way that the expectations put upon her were huge, turning pro, and like the way that she not only her but rapidly becoming the face of the WNBA and taking it to a level of prominence that is so far and beyond where it was a year ago, and especially compared to maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And not only because of her play directly, I mean, she is a great player immediately, but just drawing eyeballs and attention to the league, and not just the quality of play, but just all the personalities around the league itself. Yeah, it has the impact that she has had in doing it in a way that just comes across really genuine and authentic too, where she really connects with fans, both boys and girls, in a way that it's just uncommon. You don't see that every single year, especially not from somebody in their very first year turning pro.
And that built-in rivalry with Reese right away. I mean, WNBA has perfect marketing between those two right now.
Yeah, and I'm not sure when the off season is for the WNBA, but let's get him in the ring at WrestleMania. That's all I'm saying. But Darren, we were covering best sports story of 2024.
I think they hit it. They hit it on the head without question.
Yeah, that I think, and Darren, I know you mentioned the sellouts for Indiana, but even other games too went from playing in front of just a handful of people to sellouts, even if she wasn't on the court. And so that was awesome to see. Because, a lot of people, there was a lot of negativity for years about the WNBA. No one really wanted it to fail. It was just, we knew it was missing something. And hopefully the next, and no one wants to be the next Caitlin Clark. They want to be their own individual, their own person. So I don't want to hear, hopefully we don't hear a lot of that. Who's going to be the next one? It's like, let's just keep this sport in the eye. And I believe, I could be wrong, unless something changes, because Eileen mentioned earlier about the baseball dreamers in Orlando, but I believe in 2026 we're supposed to get a soft opening for a 6 or 8 team Major League Baseball women's league as well. I'm not sure the name of it just yet. I don't even know if they know the name of it, but that has been, I think they've identified the cities, and it's supposedly still moving forward. So that would be exciting for that to happen. I'm not sure when they're going to play, what time of year, anything like that. But
and the PWHL is going strong too. I want to do a shout out to them because
100%.
They won the championship last year. Our Minnesota Lynx for the WNBA, they were runners up. I mean,
they were very good. They were a tough team, boy. I tell you, they took the liberty to all they can get there and more, and beat the Liberty soundly during the regular season.
Yeah, and also they don't have that big star power. They don't have that big name. They just have a really solid team.
And Boston's team is doing really well in the women's professional hockey league right now as well. Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah. So my last question, and then after we go around this one, we'll end it with just going around one final time. If you have a specific, not so much a water category, but category that you would have in the sports world. So my final one on my end that I like to ask about here is, let me make sure I have the right in front of me. Yes. So where did you go? There you are. In the baseball world, at the end, when it's all said and done before spring, and this is dips into 2025, before we play our first inning of spring training baseball, starting with you, Eli, who is the most impactful free agent signing, whether it's someone with a new team or someone that was re-signed? Who is that person in your mind?
It has to be Juan Soto, for him to, not just the on-field impact, but such it kind of just redefines it goes a long way to changing the place that the Mets have especially in their direct like rivalry with the Yankees, which at times hasn't really felt like a rivalry, but to now have him come across town and to take somebody that was so integral to what that team was building, and now for them to come a little bit short of winning that World Series, and yet for him to lose that piece, for him to go to New York, and for him to what it does to like further Steve Cohen's reputation of like being an owner that is just willing to go a step beyond literally every other owner in the sport to get what he wants. That to me it really raises the floor for the Mets in a way that hasn't been the case even in these last few years, where it's been some ups and downs, and have somebody like that still in the prime of their career to come over. It stabilizes things, especially for 2025, and it lets them go into the season with certain expectations. But yeah, even more so for another decade or a decade and a half potentially, so to have a player like that in the middle of your team, and for what they could represent beyond just being really productive on the field, is a seismic move.
Yes, it is. And in the infamous words of Latrell Sprewell, I just hope with the money he's making, he can put food on the table. He's only making $320,000 per game and only making $80,000 per plate appearance. So hopefully they'll survive financially. Those numbers, when you break it down like that, like you hear the big number, right, of the millions and stuff. When you break it down to per at bat, like could you imagine going into work and you had 4 tasks that day and you fail miserably at all, you strike out all 4 of them and still getting to go home with $320,000 at the end of the day? Like it's just insane when you break that down. And even more so, I yes, it's way too much money to pay anybody, but I tend to scoff more at the pitching contracts just because that's every 5 days, every 6 days, and they're making what they're making compared to someone who's on the field every day. But I understand it's not like you're just sitting there doing nothing in the dugout. I understand he's still doing, bullpen sessions and things like that. But still. So same question, Tony, and then Darren to you with that. Is it Juan Soto for you, or is it someone that hasn't yet signed?
Well, I'm glad that you said starting pitching, because I think it's not necessarily Corbin Burnes just solo, but I think starting pitching in general has been kind of the difference maker, because you have the Dodgers, you have the Mets, you have the Yankees, you have all these top tier teams, even the Orioles, which Darren, you're wearing right now. They haven't been able to sign that top tier pitcher yet. And to me, it's great that the Mets have Juan Soto. Don't get me wrong. It improves their offense, but where you can win and steal games in the playoffs is pitching, and no team has run away with it yet. So I think that's the good thing for parity in baseball, is that it's still wide open when it comes to starting pitching at the top tier ends.
I love it. And Darren, final.
I think you hit a home run with that as well. No metaphor meant. I mean, I think that the key free agent signing right now was not Juan Soto. It was because of Juan Soto. The Yankees did some good things actually to shore up their team. But about pitching, Orioles got hurt because they lost their best player. Yankees got hurt because they lost a big piece. Walker Buehler signing with the Red Sox puts the Red Sox in position to win the East. I think that is, with everybody going down and them getting Walker Buehler, even just for a year, I think that helps them exponentially. And by the way, watch DeGrom go back to the Mets.
Oh, him and Thor. We'll get them both.
No, that's the chatter right now that he may go back to the Mets.
Do you agree with the idea that maybe they should try actually throwing him to the bullpen and kind of do the Dennis Eckersley where?
Oh, 100%. He would be wonderful there. I mean, and I think he would do it. I really do, because look, he knows his arm is not nearly what it was, but can he give you a couple of innings? I think he would be wonderful in the pen.
Yeah. And my answer, my answer to this question would be Eric Wagaman signing a 1-year major league contract with the Marlins. No.
Why are you going to be a hater? It's the holidays. you guys are a great guy.
I'm not trying to be, but it is. I don't know. I get excited when I see teams like the Marlins and the like making a move, like even if it's not like substantial, that they're doing something. And I appreciate that. I was surprised to see because Vidal Brujan was a high touted minor league prospect for the Rays, and each time they called him up, I think what happened with him, at least, he just didn't get to play every day, and so they weren't happy with his production. But he never got a chance to play more than once a week, and so it didn't quite work out. I'm sure he'll find another spot somewhere. But
I know the Marlins have won 2 World Series since the Mets have won 1. So that's all I know.
Yes, don't remind me. My 86 DVD is getting so worn out; it's ridiculous. But my answer would, I would say, I think Pete Alonso for me, just to be different here, just because wherever he winds up, hopefully it's with the Mets, but he's going to be looked at, I think, even more so than Juan Soto. I know Juan Soto got the big money, and that first year, all eyes, if he goes 0 for 2, forget it. It's going to be, and in New York. But I think with Pete Alonso, we forget last year wasn't his typical year, but I feel like he is the heartbeat of the New York Mets, and if he signs with another team, it could go downhill quickly, even with a Juan Soto on our team. So hopefully he stays with the Mets, and they can offer more than the 3 years, $90 million that I believe is rumored to be discussed there. So with time, we're just about at 9:00. So just go around the room. Just any final thoughts on the 2024 year? Any final thoughts here?
Can I ask one quick question before we do that? And maybe we'll start with you, Mike, because you facilitate the questions. Now it's nice to get a response. Ricky Henderson, what are your thoughts?
It was. I forget what I was doing, but I stopped in my tracks what I was doing, and I remember people asking me, like, Mike, I'm talking to you, and I just remember scrolling, and I was like, hold on a second, because I had to stop what I was doing, and I think I mentioned last week about with him in terms of him having to have that moment with his daughter throwing the first pitch last season. So just difficult to see, and still pretty young person. So I'll remember there'll never be another Ricky Henderson for so many reasons. I'll just leave it at that. So
next, whoever. Jump ball, kids.
Totally agree. I totally agree with you, Mike. I mean, hearing the stories of Ricky and the Rickyisms, I mean, he's the closest that I can remember in my life to being kind of like Yogi Berra, where he just has those famous sayings, those famous things that Ricky did. And while it's easy to right away think, oh, narcissist thought of himself, hearing all the stories of how nice he was as a person and how involved he was with these random people. I just read an article about a metal band that had a apartment that was part of one of the buildings that he was leasing, and he was really nice to them. He stood up for them when they were having an issue with the landlord, and was even part of their photo shoot for one of their band photos. And Ricky didn't have to do those kind of things, and he just seemed like a fun dude that, like, you're not going to get another one of those guys. And I'm glad that his records for stolen bases is going to be untouchable, because he's one of a kind.
Yep. I love everything you just said. And Eli, as we close out, any final thoughts on Ricky?
Yeah. I just think it's not an obligation particularly in baseball. It's not an obligation for these athletes to be characters and entertainers, because it's such a team sport, and because your influence on the game isn't all that. It's not as outsized as it is in some other sports. Like, it's easier for these guys in retirement and after their careers to just fade into the backgrounds, and we remember their numbers, and sometimes not a whole lot more than that. It's very easy for us to move on, and he is somebody that his legacy really endured. All the way until just a few months ago. I remember seeing him at that celebration of the Oakland A's final season, and how big a part of it he was, and what he meant to, but not just A's fans, but really to everybody else. He was it's so important, even though it's not the obligation for these athletes to kind of be unique and to stick with us in that way. It's so important to the game, and he's somebody that was able to do that. So you just hope that ultimately you want to see the game played really well and at a high level. And there are a lot of things you want as a baseball fan in order to keep you entertained and to feel fulfilled from it. But all you can do is hope that there are other. There really are not a whole lot of guys like Ricky Anderson in terms of his combination of performance and what made him special. But I hope that others emerge in baseball in the coming years so that future generations can have them to look back on the same way that people did in celebration of Ricky over these past few days.
Thank you for sure. Yeah, that's a great way to close this out. Well said. So as we close up here, definitely, like I said, Eli, if I'm able to make it out to Miami this season, I'll definitely let you know. So hopefully we can go to a game. And then Tony, so I asked my wife, Eileen, the other day, I was like, so, because they're too small to show on the screen, but I got these they're like little medallions that go on the keychain for each stadium that you've been to. So yours would obviously outweigh mine. I have like 6. But so I said 2026 or 2025, where are we going? Because I said, obviously you want to watch a Rays game in a different city, right? It's like, no, I need a year off. I'm still going to watch the Rays, but we're not going to fly somewhere to see the 2025 Rays. So I said, where we get to go this year. And she's, without even thinking, she's like, let's go to Minnesota. Tony's an awesome guy. And that's where we're going to go. So I already kind of circled, I haven't talked to her about this yet, so it's not official, but I think early May, they got a weekend series with the Giants. So that would be ideal. So I'll definitely keep you posted.
Well, I will start to try to order up the weather and make sure that all the snow is gone by then.
Yeah, she is not a snow fan. If it gets past anything less than 68 degrees, she's not happy. So not happy pappy. But so I'll keep you posted with that as well. But just Happy New Year, guys, Darren as well. And everyone watching, thank you. Some of you stayed on the entire time. I know it was a longer episode, but it's the end of the year. We get to, and I'm off tomorrow. But just thank you guys again. Just a reminder of what to look forward to a week from tonight, a little bit different type podcast. We're going to have Kim Curie on. She works with a New Life International. She handles and works with such a great cause. And Darren, I know we kind of discussed that a little bit, what she does. So definitely check out A New Life International and watch along with us next Sunday night. She's going to be on with that. And then starting the very next night, it'll be a new weekly event starting every Monday night. We're going to be live, myself and Tevin Powell, live on Monday night, January the 6th. Each and every Monday night, we are going to be covering the Monday Night Raw moving to Netflix. Such a big deal. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, it's an episode to check out. Everyone that you liked when you were a kid is probably going to be on that show. So we'll be live every Monday with a live watch along covering all things WWE. So excited for that. With that said, thank you guys for putting in the time tonight. I know it was a longer night, but this was a blast. Until next time, we'll see you around the ballpark. Bye, guys.